My name is Tamara Abdurrahim. I'm the Contract Compliance Officer at the Housing Authority of the City of Milwaukee. What that means is that anytime we have contracts or purchase orders that are subject to Davis-Bacon, I oversee the Davis-Bacon aspect of that. So when you work with us or you have a contract with us and you're paying prevailing wage, I will be double checking your payrolls and making sure that everything is in line. Today we're going to talk about Davis-Bacon, the regulation, what it is, and required reporting for any contracts and purchase orders that you'll have with the Housing Authority or Travoux. First and foremost, Davis-Bacon applies to contracts that are greater than $2,000, to which the federal government or DC is a party by the Davis-Bacon and related acts portion. The related acts are where we come in, and that's because you contract with us, the Housing Authority, and or our instrumentality Travoux. And because you're doing that business with us and we get our funding from the government, we are required to comply with Davis-Bacon. And of course, we push that onto you. So what does this mean? This means that all laborers and mechanics that are employed on job sites are required to be paid prevailing wage. Anytime you get a bid packet, and if you've been to either of the other sessions this morning, you'll probably have heard about bidding and our bidding process. Anytime that we anticipate that the bid will come back over $2,000, you'll see the wage determination within it. That tells you what wage you have to pay. So you're never blindly bidding on any projects. You always know that if you're doing carpentry work, a carpenter wage is $30 and however much fringe. So you're always bidding with complete knowledge of what's expected. As I said, you have to pay that wage. The wage has to be paid regardless of the skill level. So you can't call me and say, hey, Tamara, I've got 2 carpenters on the job site. One's been a carpenter for 20 years and one's been a carpenter for 3 years. I don't want to pay them the same. What I'm going to tell you is that the wage listed in the wage determination is a minimum. So you can always pay more. So if that carpenter that's been with you for 10 years, you want to pay him $10 more than the guy that's been with you 3 years, that's fine with me. But the minimum is what's listed in that wage determination. Oh, and one last thing, or 2 last things, I should say. You have to keep an accurate log. A lot of times we have employees that can do many different trades. If I get a payroll from you and you tell me that, oh, Joe Smith was working as a carpenter for 4 hours today and then he worked as a painter for 4 hours after that, I'm going to say, okay, that's interesting. They worked exactly 4 hours in each classification every day. There was never even the slightest bit of fluctuation. That's when you're going to get a call from me because I'm going to want to see your records. You need to maintain accurate records. There's no problem with them doing multiple different classifications. You just need to know what they're doing and when, and have that reflected on their payroll. And last but not least, your laborers and your mechanics, anyone on your job site needs to be paid weekly. I know it's a headache, but under Davis-Bacon, you do need to pay weekly. Now, don't shoot the messenger. Everyone always gets mad and calls me yelling, but I promise I didn't make up the rules. I just have to make sure we comply with them. In order to ensure that you are complying, I will ask for your certified payrolls. The federal regulation requires that you submit these to me. You can do them manually, but I've made it very easy. We utilize a software called LCP Tracker. With LCP Tracker, you just have to upload them up. So it'll be nice and easy and you click certify, and I mean, it can be a lengthy process if you don't know what you're doing, but we do offer training. These are just the regs stated that you have to submit a weekly payroll for every week that work is completed on site, and you have to provide me with a statement of compliance. Again, LCP Tracker will make it real simple for you. It'll even populate the statement of compliance. And here we go, mentioning LCP Tracker again. Most contractors that I work with can just export a file from their payroll system and then import that into LCP Tracker. So it's not a whole lot of extra work, but you do need to make sure that all of your employees are loaded into the system. This is also how I track those new hires for Section 3. If you guys haven't been to that session yet, I highly encourage you to attend. And then for subcontractors of yours, you're going to be required to prime approve. Now with Davis-Bacon, contractors are required to approve and be aware of their subcontractors doing. So now if you have a sub that's not paying Davis-Bacon wages and I get wind of that, and this sub all of a sudden goes bankrupt, you will be responsible for paying the back wages that he owes to his employees. So when you take on a subcontractor, don't take it lightly. and make sure that you do review that their payrolls are in LCP Tracker, because ultimately I will be calling you to ensure your compliance. Another software that we utilize is B2G Now. This is more for my benefit than for yours, I'll be entirely honest. I like to know that you're paying your subcontractors so that when you submit a final payment to Hakam or Travo, we can say, okay, all the subcontractors are paid, I don't have to worry about liens, here we go. It also helps me track our required EBE and our somewhat optional, depending on the contract, Section 3 percentages. Now, B2G Now will track all of the payments we make to the generals. The general is then required to put in what payments are made to their subcontractors. Subcontractors will get an email and it'll say, hey, so-and-so said that they paid you X amount of dollars on X date. Confirm, deny, revise. You'll say, yes, I made this payment, or I received this payment, no, I didn't. And then that's that. It's not a whole lot of work on our subcontractors or our contractors, but it is one more way that we can close out a project at the end without any additional delays and worrying about was the contractor paid or weren't they, excuse me. On your USB drives that you've received today, I've given you guys a lot of extra information. One of those is actually the Contractor's Guide to Prevailing Wage. I have the Agency's Guide to Prevailing Wage, and I utilize that as my Bible. I've read it, I've tabbed it up, I keep it on my right side. I mean, it's awesome. It's a great reference point for any questions that you might have. I highly encourage you guys to look through the Contractor's Guide. And then I mentioned those two different types of software that we utilize, LCP Tracker and B2G Now. Please don't hesitate to look through those guides. They'll tell you exactly how to start, how to sign up for training, and you can move on from there. And that's all I've got for you guys. Questions, concerns? I know I ran through a lot of information, but I'm trying to make it as friendly as possible. Questions?
The training you're talking about,
yes.
that after the bids are submitted, that's when the training will be provided?
Right, so you can sign up for training at any time. And it's online, it's a webinar. And so what you can do is, as soon as you've decided you want to start working with us, if you want to get ahead, you can go on in to LCP Tracker, and I can provide you with a link for that to sign up for training. It's also in the How to Sign Up for Training guide. And like I said, it's just an online webinar. You'll sign up for a time, and they're really great about answering questions and slowing it down if you need it. Same with B2G.
The other thing that I did not hear today is when are the bids due?
Each one is different. Okay. I believe if you didn't make it to the maintenance opportunities one, that is upcoming maintenance, there's one more right here. Towards the end of this, she shows you where to find all of the bids on the website, and then also what it kind of shows you where the due dates are. And I was just telling them that it's in this PowerPoint if you haven't seen it yet. It's also on the flash drive. Any other questions? I know, you look a little scared.
No, not too.
It's a lot of information, but it's really not as scary and taxing once you start doing it. The biggest thing is just knowing what I expect and knowing that we're here to help you guys with anything.